This episode of the Sloopcast brought to you by the Ozone Radio Network. We are proud members of the Ozone Radio Networks and share the space with such other great podcasts who don't use phrases like such other, like Across the Field with Tony Gerdeman, the Silver Bullets podcast, and of course the Sons of Schmidt. All of this and more can be found at theozone.net, including some of the absolute best writing in all of the Ohio State universe. We've got barbecue back here. You're all invited. Welcome to the Sloopcast. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing all right over here, Jared. How are you today?
Doing pretty good, I think.
You think?
I think I'm doing pretty good. We'll see how this episode goes. We actually have a lot to get to today, which is a nice thing to say for a late April episode. We know anytime we have a lot to talk about post spring game, it's a good day. So you know what, Kyle? I'm doing pretty good. I mean, the bad news is, so if I'm going to try and even things back out, the bad news is that the draft is over. We're officially in the Wasteland.
This is the Wasteland until
August,
the first week of August.
So this is it. We're now in the desert. Is it 40 days? Is it 40 days until August?
A lot longer than that, buddy.
Oh, no. Yeah, Moses ain't got nothing on us. Football fans know this pain. And I tell you what, the Cavaliers aren't making it any easier, but that's not what we're talking about right now.
If you really want to know, Jared, it is from this day that that this episode is being released, 97 days. not till the first football game, but for practice.
Until the hotel check-in.
Well, I'm going by that Monday when season 4 starts. How about that?
When season 4 starts, we are 58 episodes into season 3. Yeah. Hey, you know what? A lot to talk about today. So let's get started. Typically on this podcast, when we talk about recruiting, which is what we're about to do, we try to, because there's a lot of names, a lot of unfamiliar names, we try to pretty much strictly stay in the lane of the current recruiting class, which is the 2019 graduating high school seniors. So that's the current recruiting class. We do make a rare exception every once in a while and jump a recruiting class forward, which is what we're going to do right now. And that's because Ohio State now has their first commitment for the 2020 class.
And that would be Jake Ray from Marietta, Georgia, who decides to commit over the past week.
Jake Ray, in case you do not know this, is the younger brother of Max Ray, who just signed with Ohio State in the 2018 recruiting class.
See, kind of a pattern going on here. We had the Bosa brothers.
Before that, we had the Bourne brothers. Now we have the Rays.
But, Jared, as I'm trying to quickly look this up here, who else, even before this, there was somebody between Bosa and the Rays. There was somebody else here.
We have... Oh, you're going to put me on the spot.
I am.
The Hooker brothers.
Yes. That is it.
Family affair at Ohio State.
In more recent, or I guess in more with next year's recruiting class here, 2019, we got a couple of people to talk about. One that we've talked about numerous of times, but somebody who's was kind of off the radar here, and that would be Bryson Shaw, who decommits from Wisconsin and just flips to Ohio State over the past weekend. He hails from Potomac, Maryland. He is according to 24/7 Sports, the 53rd ranked safety in the nation, ranked 660. You're going to ask yourself here, why is Ohio State going after someone who's that high of rank? Well,
or low,
depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
But you look at his tape. I don't know if you had a chance, Jared, and that was my first thought too. It's like, okay, there has to be something in this kid that Urban Meyer and Alex Grinch like about him. And you look at the highlights, and you can easily see why. He plays multiple positions. His main position is safety, but he plays multiple positions at the school where he's at right now, which I like, by the way, because they're the Bulldogs. So more kudos to him. He's very quick, elusive, and when he's playing on defense, he's very instinctive. He just knows where to go. His highlights from his junior year showed a lot of athleticism that Urban Meyer loves to recruit. So I can see why they went so hard after Shaw.
Sure, and you take him away from Wisconsin, which is the nice bonus. In his tweet that he announced the flip, he stated some family issues that he wanted to stay closer to home for. I don't know, and quite frankly, it's none of my business what exactly that is. So, Columbus is considerably closer, I guess, to Maryland than Wisconsin. It's not close, per se, but it is significantly closer. And for what it's worth, the 24/7 Sports proper rating has Shaw much higher than the 24/7 Sports composite rating. So 24/7 Sports seems to be significantly higher on Bryson Shaw than, I guess, the other recruiting services. And if that sounds familiar, we were saying the same thing about Master Teague about this time last year. For whatever that's worth. Another name to keep an eye on, and actually, if you're listening to this, and if you just heard me ask that question, then you must be. Garrett Wilson has already committed, hopefully, to Ohio State. Garrett Wilson, is a wide receiver from Texas. He's actually living in Austin right now. He's actually originally from, I want to say Dublin. I forget, but somewhere in the Columbus area. I forget specifically where. And he sent out a tweet on Saturday night saying that he would be committing at 8 o'clock on Sunday night, which is the future for us, but the past for you.
Man, we're going to sound like real idiots if he doesn't go to Ohio State now.
The momentum on the crystal ball is favoring Ohio State greatly.
Heavily, yes. At this time that we're recording. Of course, it can change at a moment's notice, but yeah. It's showing heavily here. At this time, 75% of the predictions go into Ohio State, and then 20% of those go into Texas.
And all of the recent votes have gone to Ohio State.
That's the important thing there, yes. And we talked about it too in previous episodes. Went to the Ohio State spring game, and then the following week he went to Texas's spring games. So he got to see both, and then ultimately wanting to make his decision here. Hopefully Ohio State. If not, we're going to look like, again, big, fat idiots.
We're not guaranteeing he's going to Ohio State. We're just hoping really hard. But yeah, hopefully, as you are listening to this, Garrett Wilson becomes the next member of the Ohio State 2019 recruiting class.
He would be the 8th. He would be the 8th for this 2019 class.
Yep, coming in right after
to Bryson Shaw.
Yep, absolutely. All right, one more piece of recruiting news. One more. For those of you who don't care about recruiting, we're almost done. For those of you who do care about recruiting, I'm sorry, we only have one more. Dax Hill, who is a 5-star safety out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, Booker T. Washington High School specifically, has included Ohio State in his final 6, along with Clemson, Alabama, Oklahoma State, Michigan, and Ohio State.
I think this recent commitment might have something to do with it, but on the other hand, too, Shaw did get an offer back in February, so it could have been just coincidence too.
I don't read any. I does not mean anything to me. The commitment of Bryson Shaw, as far as the commitment of, like, you have Bryson Shaw. I mean, let's just be on. I'm trying to dance around it. I'm trying not to say it, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. Bryson Shaw, 53rd ranked safety in the country. Dax Hill, 2nd ranked safety in the country. 3-star versus 5-star. They aren't on, even though they're both safeties. I don't know that Shaw is necessarily a safety at Ohio State. I think that's fairly up in the air. Dax Hill, I think, is in all likelihood a safety no matter where he goes. 2nd best safety in the country, best overall player from the state of Oklahoma, 33rd overall nationally. Crystal Ball pretty heavily favoring the Oklahomas. Specifically Oklahoma State in 2nd. If the crystal ball is to be believed, hey, Kyle, I get to say this, we're very early in the process still, then he looks to be staying home, but like I said, very, very early in the process, 9 crystal ball predictions in. Who the hell knows?
Nobody does, Jared. They're high school kids.
They don't know. Maybe they know, but they probably don't. Do you want to take some fan questions?
Absolutely. It's always fun to answer these questions from our fellow listeners. First off, here from our geographically challenged friend here at Michigan Bucknut. He asks 2 questions. What are your feelings about Shea Patterson, the real deal or just another QB? And what is the record for amount of days since the team up north has beaten Ohio State?
Okay, I'm not prepared to answer that second question. Maybe Kyle can jump on the magical Google machine and get that answer for us real quick. Shea Patterson, real deal. Now, is he such a real deal that he can right the ship at Michigan? Maybe. I know that this is like hot take. You know, I'm on a podcast and I'm on Twitter and I need to either say that Shea Patterson's amazing or Shea Patterson's trash. And I'm not going to do that. I think that he is a very, very good quarterback and he did just make Michigan much better. I'll say that. Michigan is now much better than they were last week.
Are they better than 3rd place in the division?
Well, and that's what I don't want to take some sort of hardline stance on. Because Michigan's issues go beyond quarterback play. Now, that being said, quarterback play has been a big issue for them.
Mm-hmm. To answer that second question, on Monday here, it would be 2,347 days.
Is that a record? I think that's what he asked. What is the record for amount of days?
Oh, gosh. I think you might have to go to maybe the Tressel era. Tressel era. It has to be.
I would think it would actually be that. I mean, let's not worry about days. Let's maybe make that years. And I think I'm going to say it's the Tressel. I'm going to say it was the streak that was snapped by Denard Robinson under the lost Ohio State season under Luke Fickell. But I'm going to guess that was Ohio State's longest streak.
Let's see here. The longest streak, I'm looking here. So if we're going to say, since beating, not to include that Ohio State didn't win, but beating, it would be, there's 7 years from 2004 through 2010, with that 2010 being vacated, though.
Well, but Michigan didn't win.
Correct, yes. So it would be,
I'm not going to count that
from
one.
2003 when Michigan won to 2011 when Michigan won. So there's that 8-year gap. Then we are when going into Columbus this year. This would be year 7. So if Ohio State wins, then it would be tied. Then
okay, there you go. Urban Meyer still chasing Jim Tressel. I can't talk. You know what happened today, Kyle? No caffeine. I'm not on any caffeine right now. And whenever that happens, I can't talk. Too much caffeine, can't talk. Not enough caffeine, can't talk. I have to zone that in perfectly. All right, let's move on. From our homie Suncard, who you can find at Suncard19, who, by the way, just got an awesome Delaware license plate. He sent us that picture on Twitter, too. Pretty sure I retweeted it. I'm almost certain I did. He asks, why do people dislike the superfans? Why do they exist? And how do they make their living? Now, the second two questions I've been asking myself for a very long time, and I can't give you any answers on that. As far as I can tell, the Buckeye guy makes most of his money by signing autographs, handing them to people, and after he's handed them to people, demanding money for them.
Holy crap, he actually has a Twitter account.
Of course he does.
And it's locked.
Well, yeah. And if you want to know why, ask Tony Gerdeman. It's so, there was a thing for Earl Bruce, and the Buckeye guy, being the attention whore asshole that he is, went and signed a picture meant for the Bruce family that only players and coaches were supposed to be signing, and he walked up and signed it. Tony Gerdeman caught him doing it and caused a bit of a Twitter upheaval about him being the douchebag that he is. Now, does that alone, because maybe that was a misunderstanding, it's one mistake. I guess the way I am going to say this without making this a huge rant is that if you have ever met the Buckeye guy, then you know that this is completely in character for him. I'm going to leave it at that. Death to the super fans. I'm just going to say death to the super fans. Not like their actual human deaths, but the personas. The personas can go away. I'm done with them. I've been done with them for a long time. This is just the latest and most damning example of why these people need to go the hell away.
Yeah, Jared said, anytime that he's shown up on TV or they find him and then they showcase him for like 5 seconds, like I want those 5 seconds back. I don't want to see him on my TV. I
think, and I'm trying to remember, I think it was Herb Street during one of the Ohio State broadcasts on ESPN where they cut to one of the super fans, and Herb Street actually said on the air, hey, let's show Brutus instead. I might be making that up, but I'm pretty sure that's a thing that happened. We already have our designated super fan, and he is a personified nut, okay? And his name is Brutus, and we have cheerleaders, and that's enough. That's enough. We have our personified nut and cheerleaders.
Who are affiliated with the program.
Yes. Who work hard. And anyway, I'm gonna move. We're done. I don't wanna get into a whole thing here. All right, let's talk scholarships. Let's talk scholarships at Ohio State. Ohio State currently at 87 scholarships. Antonio Williams announces his departure from the program. And really, my first reaction to that was congrats. Like, realistically, I'm very happy for him. He's a very good running back. Mm-hmm. He wasn't going to see the field. I mean, and I know that sounds like an insult, but I mean, realistically, he has Weber and Dobbins over top of him. And Weber's leaving the program next year. Yeah, Weber's in all likelihood going to leave the program next year. And Dobbins, however, we have 2 more years of J.K. Dobbins, and we have a whole slew of very, very good running backs coming behind Antonio Williams.
Yep.
And this was just a decision he had to make to get on the field to pursue his goals beyond college football. And I believe, if memory serves, he is actually from the state of North Carolina. So this is a good overall move. Ohio State gets a scholarship, which they need. Antonio Williams can go get some playing time, which he deserves. And he gets to go back home. You know, obviously he chose Ohio State because he wanted to play at Ohio State. So that's, I'm sure, bittersweet for him as a whole. But ultimately, this is a good thing.
No, absolutely. And me living in the heart of UNC, NC State, and Duke here, I had a few people who came up to me this last weekend who were Tar Heel fans. They said, "Hey, what happened to Antonio Williams here?" I had to tell him that, well, he was like third on depth chart. He wasn't going to see the field, and sad to see him go. But I said, "You're going to like him once he's going to play in 2019 because he's going to have to sit out a year this year."
Yes,
you are going to like him. You got yourselves a keeper. And I even told him, and we mentioned this on the podcast too, he could start for almost every other Big Ten school here. And when I told him that, almost.
Yeah, maybe 2/3, maybe half.
I go with 2/3. There's quite a few schools that could use running backs, Jared. But yeah, no, that lit their eyes up a little bit, and they're like, all right. So, and I told him I'd keep my eyes open and wish him the best here. So hopefully I'll hear his name on the news here. So,
yep, absolutely. Now, Ohio State, when Antonio Williams announces his transfer, that brought Ohio State down to 86 scholarships, which if you're counting at home is still one over the limit. But then we received word that everyone's favorite try-hard underdog, CJ Saunders, is put on scholarship for his senior season. CJ Saunders, of course, a walk-on previous to this, now on scholarship, putting Ohio State back at 87 scholarship. But, and if you're going to read the tea leaves here, if Urban Meyer and the rest of the coaching staff was willing to put CJ Saunders on scholarship, then they must know what we don't know, which is that they had a scholarship to give. We're anticipating, at the very least, 2 more departures from Ohio State at some point. No disrespect to CJ Saunders, but, math is math, and numbers are numbers, and they don't give him that scholarship if they don't have that scholarship to give him. They know something we don't know, something we'll learn sometime between now and August, which is that at least 2 more Buckeyes are on their way out. The podcaster in me wants to speculate who that might be. The human being in me realizes that that's not very nice, so I'm not going to do it. So I think we're just going to move on from the scholarship conversations. We're going to congratulate both Antonio Williams and CJ Saunders on their good news, I suppose. I'm just going to general congratulations for CJ Saunders and Antonio Williams. All right, Kyle. Now, one of the things we definitely wanted to talk about today was the NFL draft, and more specifically how it relates to some of Ohio State's departing seniors, juniors in some case. So you want to start right off the top here?
Yep, let's go in order of when it happened. No surprise to us, the first Ohio State to go off the board, Denzel Ward, a lot higher than I anticipated, especially with all the quarterback drama and quarterbacks to be picked and all that.
Yeah,
Denzel Ward staying in Ohio here, going with the Cleveland Browns with their 4th pick.
Yeah, and what a fantastic pick. I mean, we've been joking for a couple years now about how the Ohio NFL teams almost seem to refuse to take Ohio State players. I know that a lot of Cleveland fans are still pissed off about passing on Joey Bosa or Ezekiel Elliott, for example. But finally, someone in Cleveland says, hey, those Ohio State guys down the road seem to be producing really good pros. Maybe we should get on this.
I think another Ohio team is worse than that, and that's Cincinnati, who actually ends up drafting Billy Price in the first round of the 21st pick. I think Cincinnati's worse than Cleveland, though. At least Cleveland can pick up a few Ohio State players on the free agency.
Oh, Cincinnati has picked up Ohio State guys on free agency.
They did. They picked up like AJ Hawk. Past his prime.
Yes. Nugent was down in Cincinnati for a while. But I don't know when the last time before this draft that Cincinnati drafted an Ohio State player. especially in the first round. We might have to go back all the way back to Big Daddy Dan Wilkinson the last time that Cincinnati picked an Ohio State guy in the first round.
It might be.
Which also might be why they haven't done it in a while, as that did not work out very well for them.
All right, so 2 Ohio State players in the first round here.
And I want to point out, Denzel Ward, a Cleveland native, Billy Price, a Cincinnati native. It's working out great for both of these guys. They get to not only stay in state, but both of them going back to their respective hometowns on I-71.
Well, instead of going on I-71, we can hit I-70 going out west.
Oh.
We can go the round 2, pick 64, Indianapolis Colts pick Tyquan Lewis.
Pleasant surprise here. I was not, by the way, well done with the interstate. I was not expecting Tyquan Lewis to go second round. I was thinking more third round for Tyquan Lewis. I think he is, Tyquan Lewis has been one of my favorite players on the team for a couple years now. I think he is second round worthy. I'm not saying that. Saying that the NFL, for the most part in recent years, prefers an edge rusher specialist at a defensive end position. And I don't know and obviously Tyquan Lewis was great at getting to the quarterback at Ohio State. I don't know that he is necessarily going to be in the Joey Bosa 23 sacks in his first 2 years in the NFL type level. Mm-hmm. But if you're looking for a solid anchor at defensive end who can still get to the quarterback, don't get me wrong, you have that guy in Tyquan Lewis. What does surprise me, if I can cheat a little bit here, Kyle, and I'm only cheating by about 4 picks, was the fact that Sam Hubbard fell all the way down to the third.
Mm-hmm. Yep, the 2 third rounds here. Jerome Baker going to the Dolphins, and Sam Hubbard 4 picks later going to, to the Cincinnati Bengals.
What? The Cincinnati Bengals picking another Ohio State player? What did we shift into a different reality, Kyle? What is with Ohio teams picking Ohio State players?
Things get really interesting as we continue naming off people here, but that is really odd that that Cincinnati goes with 2 Ohio State players in their first 3 rounds.
Yeah, and what I really honestly thought, and maybe I was being a homer, but I truly thought that Sam Hubbard had first round potential, most likely a second round pick. Yeah. But if you're looking at, because I just felt like he was the type of guy that either Pittsburgh or New England would pick. I think he would convert well to outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme. I thought that either of those teams were perfect fits for Sam Hubbard. And when he was still available at the end of the first round, I was thinking, okay, I don't think he gets past both Pittsburgh and New England. And then, of course, he does. And falls all the way to the third. I don't get it. I do not get it.
Oh, there's another name here. If I'll jump here, someone who dropped far here.
I don't want to jump past Jerome Baker. Jerome Baker picked in the third round as well, going to be rejoining Raekwon McMillan down in Miami.
Yeah, here's really interesting that I read and heard about. So Dolphins, same division as New England. New England having Gronk and always having seen athletic tight ends there. This is a perfect fit for the Dolphins to help try to negate the damage that some of these athletic tight ends can do to Miami. So you have Jerome Baker, he's not a good run stop, but he is great running side to side, as we've seen in his career at Ohio State. Being able to cover these more athletic running backs and especially the tight ends here, this is a great pickup for the Dolphins to help their division foes out.
Yeah, absolutely. The athletic build linebacker, the linebacker who, this is the thing I've talked about several times on the show, the linebacker who, had he been born 10 years earlier, would probably be a safety. NFL college, both NFL and college defenses are getting smaller. Guys who used to be linebackers are now playing defensive end. Guys who used to be safeties are now playing linebackers. Guys who used to be zone specialist corners, which is a nice way of saying a corner who's a little bit slow, are now playing safety. You know what I mean? The defenses are getting smaller and lighter. What the Dolphins are able to do with Jerome Baker is a lot what, to use two more Ohio State guys an example, what New York is currently doing, what the Jets are currently doing with Darren Lee, and what Pittsburgh has been doing for years with Ryan Shazier. And now that I've said his name, Ryan Shazier walks to the podium and announces Pittsburgh's first-round pick. Just tremendous, absolutely tremendous show by Ryan Shazier.
What is that, 5 months out from his injury, and the doctor's telling him he couldn't walk again, and there he is walking with a little assistance from his wife there, walking to the podium.
Might not walk again. They didn't tell him he wouldn't. They told him that it was in jeopardy. So let's be fair. But yeah, Ryan Shazier,
5 months though. That's
yeah, walking with some assistance, but walking nonetheless. It's just amazing and tremendous, and just a show of everything that modern science and modern medicine, and of course just Ryan Shazier himself, just as a person persevering, if I can use some alliteration.
And it was just a couple of weeks ago when he was at Ohio Stadium, and he was just standing up, just on the golf cart there.
Yeah.
And I never would have thought he would have tried to walk in 2 weeks, when we saw that he was even just struggling, just standing up on the golf cart there. And then in 2 weeks, we see him there. He's walking. It is just unbelievable.
Yeah. Tremendous. Absolutely amazing. All right. We've talked Denzel Ward, Billy Price, Tyquan Lewis, Jerome Baker, Sam Hubbard. Sam Hubbard, also a Cincinnati guy. It's all coming together. Is Billy Price actually a Cincinnati guy, or was I thinking of Sam Hubbard when I said that? I'm now questioning what I was saying about Billy Price. I'm now thinking Billy Price is not a Cincinnati guy.
Billy Price is from Austintown High School, northeast of Canton.
Okay, so Billy Price, not more accurate to say he's a Cleveland guy, but still, it's actually Canton, Akron area, it sounds like. But yeah, Sam Hubbard, the Cincinnati guy, going back home to Cincinnati.
Yes, he went to Moeller High School. Yes,
that one I knew. Round 4, pick 102 overall, Jalen Holmes goes to the Minnesota Vikings. Another good fit. Minnesota's collecting defensive ends. They're doing a system much like Ohio State does, where they're going to be rotating defensive ends in. And by the way, the power of Ohio State, Jalen Holmes, did Jalen Holmes ever once start for Ohio State? Does he have a start on his Ohio State resume? I don't think he does. And he still gets picked almost in the top 100 of the NFL draft.
Yeah, great fit for him. Minnesota's that team. They're right there on the verge of being a Super Bowl caliber team right now with the defense that they have right now. They're getting their offense pieces together. This is a really good fit for Jalen Holmes to be able to not have the pressure to do stuff right away, but being able to contribute to the team. It's a great fit for him.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, his role in Minnesota is probably going to be very, very similar to his role at Ohio State. Probably not going to be starting right away at defensive end, which, people don't necessarily hardly ever expect a 4th-round player to start right away. But he'll be in the rotation, which should be very familiar for Jalen Holmes.
I think the biggest surprise for Ohio State is Jamarco Jones going all the way down to round 5, where Seattle picks him up.
So let's talk about the NFL draft for a moment. Sometimes these NFL scouts overthink them themselves, and it's no surprise to me that Pete Carroll, who seems to be one of the better guys at not overthinking things. Pete Carroll does end up selecting Jamarco Jones. The Seattle Seahawks do end up picking Jamarco Jones 168th overall. So why the slide? The slide happens because Jamarco Jones wants to play offensive tackle, and Jamarco Jones is, and I'm gonna emphasize and underline this word, only 6'4", which by offensive tackle standards in the NFL is short, believe it or not. Your offensive tackles they want you more in the 6'6" area. But why is that so wrong? Well, because, and it's weird. I think the NBA guys have figured this out, even if the NFL guys have not figured this out, is that despite the fact that Jamarco Jones is, and I once again want to underline this to point out its absurdity, short at 6'4", he has a wingspan. He has a wingspan of that of someone who is 7'1". Is he short? Maybe. Is he long? Uh-huh. And really, that's what's important. It's about keeping the defensive end, if I can get sort of geek level here on offensive line stuff, it's about keeping the defensive end away from your body. And you don't do that by being tall. You do that by having monstrously long arms. He has a 7'1" wingspan. And for those of you who maybe don't know these things, the typical human, your wingspan is typically, if you spread your arms out all the way and go fingertip to fingertip, that is normally very similar to your height. It is in the same range as your overall height. Jamarco Jones is obviously an anomaly in that area, where he is significantly longer than he is tall. And again, this is something that the NBA guys have figured out that the NFL guys have not. And he was just such a consistent offensive lineman for Ohio State. I do not get the slip into the 5th round for Jamarco Jones. Seattle stole him. Yeah,
stole. Another one, I know we don't like talking about this team, but another steal, I think the Oakland Raiders got Mo Hurst.
Yeah.
Maurice Hurst. He had some issues going in, like health issues that were, quote, reported about him. And he was a first-round talent and fell all the way to the 5th round, where 140th overall. So you drop 100 draft picks.
Yeah. I mean, he has a legitimate issue with his heart, and he might not play in the NFL, or he might have to retire early. I mean, so there is risk there. It's kind of one of the reasons why I was not on Twitter because there's a lot of people making the jokes that, oh, no one from Michigan's been picked yet, and no one from Michigan's been picked yet, and that's fine. I'm not judging. If you were doing that, I'm not trying to shame you, because that's what the rivalry is, and it's fun, and you were having fun, and that's fine. But I couldn't do that because I know that Maurice Hurst should have been going in the 1st round and wasn't, because of a heart condition that they discovered at the NFL Combine.
Yep.
I feel bad for Maurice Hurst. I do. It's a terrible situation for him. And I honestly don't know how it wasn't caught sooner.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, moving on. So that's all the Ohio State players that were drafted. 7 players, which matched how many Ohio State had last year. Undrafted pickups consists of Marcus Ball to the Raiders, Tracy Sprinkle to Carolina Panthers, Chris Worley to Cincinnati, and Damon Webb rejoining his former coach to Tennessee Titans. And also some notables here for that been invited to tryouts as Michael Hill to the Lions, Nick Seam, who's the long snapper, going to Cleveland, and our very own JT Barrett IV, with Tyquan Lewis down 70 to Indianapolis.
Yeah, like Kyle said, the first 4 names mentioned there, Boss, Sprinkle, Worley, Webb, all got free agent contracts. So, money. I mean, it's a contract. Hill, the long snapper who I've never heard of before, Sorry, Nick. It's the first time we mentioned your name on this podcast. And JT Barrett all got invites to tryouts. I don't know, Kyle. Looking at this draft as a whole, what are your overall impressions here? Let's tell you what. Let's do this Q&A style. Who has the best rookie season of these Ohio State players?
I think it's Ward. Ward's going to go in there, and with the type of offenses he's going to go against, he's going to have a lot of opportunities to showcase. I think it's Ward.
I think from an immediate impact standpoint, I can't help but wonder if it's going to be Jerome Baker. I think he's going to start day one down there. He's going to be next to Raekwon McMillan, so there's going to be some comfort there.
Yeah, that was going to be my second pick. Yeah, that division he's in, as I mentioned earlier, he's going to have a lot of opportunities too. But I think Denzel Ward is a starter for Cleveland, no question. Yeah. Jerome Baker might not necessarily be in there a long time. He's going to be in there for situational downs or.
I'm early on. I mean, he's eventually a starter. He might be a starter right away. Outside linebacker has not been a position of strength for the Dolphins recently. I mean, they draft Raekwon McMillan to anchor the middle of the linebacker core. Now they go and grab his teammate. All right, so who has the best career out of these players? Best long-term career out of these players?
Maybe it's just because of the history that Ohio State had with this position. I think it might be Billy Price. We've seen some good centers recently out of Ohio State the past couple of decades here who've had long, great careers. I just think Billy Price has found a home for him, and he's going to be there for 10, 14 years, however long he decides to play.
Yeah, that was going to be my answer. I'll go ahead and throw Jamarco Jones in there as well. Yep. Even if he does not make it as an offensive tackle, if the being 2 inches too short thing does in fact get in his way, and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, they'll bump him inside the guard, and he'll have a great career at guard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of the non-drafted players, who do you think is most likely to make a long-term impact in the NFL? Part
of me is thinking maybe Tracy Sprinkle. I know Carolina's needing help on the defensive line. They have some good linebackers there, but I think they might need some help on the defensive line, and having Sprinkle come in to rotate, I think Sprinkle could make a name for himself given the opportunity.
And with a name like Sprinkle, that's a good name to make for yourself. I'm going to go Damon Webb. I've always felt Damon Webb was underrated and underappreciated. I always thought that he was a very good defensive back. And the fact that he's kind of staying in a bit of a comfort zone, going to go down there and play for Mike Vrabel in Tennessee, I think things are set up pretty decently for Damon Webb.
Yeah, and he fits that mold. Yeah, Sprinkle fits that mold too, just because just the defense that Carolina plays, and he would play more of the 3-tech defense just because of his pure athleticism that he has there. But yeah, but I can't argue with Webb too, going back with Coach Coombs, being comfortable with how he operates, how he coaches.
Oh, of course. I was talking about Vrabel. Of course, I forgot about. Yeah. I'm still a little sore about that one, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. The question that everybody's thinking now, because he's only getting a tryout, chances do you think that JT will get a spot
on the final 53?
Yeah.
I'm gonna choose not to say anything negative about JT Barrett on the podcast right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But overall, Ohio State, I believe, tied second in the NFL draft with 7 drafted, and I believe first was Alabama with 12.
And since we're talking a bit of North Carolina this episode, one of the teams Ohio State was tied with for most players drafted.
NC State.
Yes.
NC State, I think I saw like through the first 3 rounds, like it was into the 3rd round, all 4 of their starting defensive linemen were drafted.
Yeah. No, it was a great showing for NC State. Because when you looked, I don't have the list in front of me. When you look at like the most picks by school, it's a lot of your it's Alabama, it's Ohio State, it's Georgia. Like it's a lot of the teams you expect to see up there. And then there was NC State, who is not. So it's obviously a great showing for them. And when you can now take that information and say, look, we've sent 7 guys to the NFL draft. Here's how much money they're making their first year. You can take that information, you can show it to recruits, you can bring more recruits in. This is how you build these things. All right, anything else, Kyle? Or is it time to end the show?
I think that's it. Let's save any other tidbits for future episodes as we will need them.
Yes. Yes, we will. We'll be tracking, keep an eye on social media tonight. Or, no. Keep an eye on social media last night. You know what? Just check the Ozone. Oh, boy. We will be keeping an eye on Garrett Wilson tonight. And if you don't know how that turned out, check out theozone.net. I'm sure that the answer will be there, especially if it's good news for Ohio State, like we're hoping it is. All right, so yeah, I guess it's time to end the show. We're going to go ahead and once again direct you to theozone.net for all of the latest in Ohio State news. We're going to direct you to sloopcast.com. And from there, you can see all of the music we play on the show. You will see a donations section. We're trying to build this podcast into something we can spend more time on. And if it's something we can spend more time on, then we're going to need some money. It's something that we need to get rolling. And I would greatly appreciate any support you have to offer us financially. And if you don't have those means, if that's not something that is realistic for you financially, then I'd like to encourage you to follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, and those likes, those shares, those retweets, just clicking on the tweet actually, or the Facebook post, just clicking on those things manipulates the algorithm and helps those tweets be seen and those Facebook posts be seen by others. So anything you can do to sort of help us manipulate the algorithm a bit, especially through likes and retweets, is greatly appreciated. And it helps keep us visible to others, and it helps to build this thing that we are trying to build. So yeah, like I said, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. You can follow us at Sloopcast on Twitter. You can follow just me, which my Twitter feed's dead because I spend most of my time on the Sloopcast Twitter feed. But if you want to follow just me because you don't like Kyle or something, you can follow me at Jared Ohio on Twitter. And if you don't like me, but you like Kyle and you only want to follow Kyle,
which I don't know why, but
I can think of at least 5 reasons. You can follow Kyle at
the crazy one, crazy with the K, one spelled out.
And there you go. Kyle, do we have anything in the Kyle's Corner this episode? If you didn't hear, that was Kyle breathing out heavily because he does not have anything.
Not a whole lot this past week. We talked about the showing and about with Earl Brews. Well, we could always just say hashtag save the crew. If you haven't been out yet, the weather's starting to get warmer. Show your support for your Columbus Crew team here. Definitely need the support as different organizations and people and businesses try their best to try to keep Columbus here, the team in Columbus. Definitely go out there. It's a lot of fun if you've never been out there. And if you have, get out there whenever you have a chance. It's well worth your money. Just show your support to your local team.
All right. So I think, well said, Kyle. And I think that's what we have for today's episode. Tonight's ending music will be a band from Athens, Ohio. They are called Portage. The name of the song we are playing tonight will be called Emo is Dead and So Am I. And it is from their Songs You Can't Dance To EP. Portage is a math rock band, a math rock emo band, is how they describe themselves. If you don't know math rock, just know that it's going to feel a bit uneasy because they don't play in 4/4. And if you don't know what any of that means, I'm sorry. But it's very technically, it's a very technical band. I enjoy them a lot. Once again, the name of this band is Portage. They are from Athens, Ohio. This is from their Songs You Can't Dance To EP. And the name of the song, once again, is Emo is Dead and So Am I. So with all of that being said, I'd like to encourage you to drink local beer, listen to local music, said this backwards, and of course, support your local podcasters once again. This is Portage.
On your living room couch, I found these when the lives in my bed shed ghosts in their leave. Through this friction of fair skin, we set fire to the sleeves that bore hearts, sleeping just fine with you, glowing in the dark, with you glowing in the dark. I got a toothache now from chewing on so often things I said about you. They were so sweet, so damn hard to eat. Slowly filling these old bottles up with all your burnt down cigarette butts. Given a chance, I'd still be torn from your loves, but this indulgence is enough. Empty drawers and cabinets, we're prone to nostalgia and accidents, topography and time breached. The kids who carried on. Empty drawers and cabinets, we're prone to nostalgia and accidents. I know that this is nothing new. It's something that I'm still working through. I got a toothache now